myself a promise. I won't quit, keep going till I got it. I won't give up till I'm on top.
Yo, no, I ain't the type to give up. If I do something, man, I do it till I get what I want. I turn a business out of nothing into something I love. I got a poker face, but honestly, I'm not one to bluff. I flip a switch, never miss, man, I always stay up. Don't let them see you, bitch, always have a plan to stay tough. This life ahead of you ain't easy, it was built to be rough. But that's what makes a personality, is tragedy, bruh. So keep your head on your shoulders. Now we ain't out here moving rocks, we out here moving.
Yo, what is up, y'all? What is up? It's me. It's Key, and we're back. We're in the building with another episode, 7200 second podcast. And as always, I got my guy, my partner in crime, my dynamic duo, Coach Dante, aka the sports librarian. Coach, what's going on, man? I can't hear you.
What's going on, y'all? How y'all doing, man?
All right, so we are back in here. Another episode. We're closer and closer to that 100 mark. I told y'all 100 is going to be a great episode. We're giving away a NFL jersey of your choosing and a 7200 second shirt for another participant. I don't know. It might be nice and add a third. Maybe you can throw a hat in there or something. We'll figure it out. But let's get down to the nitty gritty of things here. We had a play-in tournament last night. The NBA is over and playoff basketball is here. We had the West last night. Very, very good game between the New Orleans Pelicans and the Lakers. Freaking Zion Williamson gets hurt at the very, very bad time in that game. Had 40 points, dominant the whole game, but they end up losing to the Lakers. Lakers will be the number 7 seed, and they will go up against the Denver Nuggets. 110 to 106. LeBron James, the Lakers and LeBron James find themselves yet again into the playoffs. If I'm not mistaken, weren't they 7th last year as well? And they got all the way to the Western Conference Finals against the Denver Nuggets in the sweep. So it is a rematch of the Western Conference Finals. LeBron James did have the game high last night. He was 6 of 20 from the field. Didn't have a good night shooting. 9 rebounds, 9 assists, 23 points. AD was still dominant, 20 points, 15 boards. D'Angelo Russell chipped in with 21 points. But Zion, he was hot, 40 points, 17 of 27 from the field. Didn't really get any help elsewhere, but he did go out with that hamstring injury, and he is not going to be in the game against the Kings. Your thoughts about last night's game, and do you think the Pelicans can beat the Kings? I believe the play-ins tomorrow for that one.
No, I don't. I don't see the Pelicans beating the Kings tomorrow. I think the Kings are gonna win that game. The Lakers pretty much neither one of their stars had a solid game from the field. Anthony Davis also went 6 of 16. He had 15 rebounds. I thought the defense was really good for the Lakers. Giving up 106 points, not really bad. But the problem is nobody else stepped up for the New Orleans Pelicans last night. Outside of Zion Williamson, you got Brandon Ingram only having 11 points. Plus the Lakers shot 40% from the field, and they also made 29. They also made 26 out of 29 free throws, and that will help them win the game last night. But outside of that, nobody really stepped up for the New Orleans Pelicans last night. So other than that, I don't see them beating the Sacramento Kings.
All right, before we go any further, got a shout out to the chat again. Y'all are what makes us entertaining and interacting with you guys. We love it. Shout out to Burn. Ern, what's going on? Daniel, I see Vixen here. Stephen Joyce, what's going on? Burn says a 40 piece, and nobody else even had 20. Definitely Zion was on last night. I believe if he didn't get hurt, I think the Lakers probably would be gone. They would be playing the Kings. Honestly. But Zion was on, he had a 40-piece nugget meal all to himself, and he couldn't even get no extra condiments because nobody helped. So it's just tough that he's out with a hamstring injury. They definitely gonna need him. I don't see the Pelicans beating the Kings. The Kings will get that number 8 seed and will go up against OKC. That might be an interesting series. it could be an interesting series between OKC and the Kings, but we're not gonna get into that next week. We'll definitely get full in depth into the playoffs, our predictions, and what's gonna go on. But on the Lakers side, Lakers, did everything they could. LeBron James was on. D'Lo chipped in. They had people to chip in last night. Besides, not like the Pelicans did. They actually had some people contributing. It was the AD 20 points. Huchamera had 13. James had 23. D'Lo 21. Austin Reeves 16 points. And the bench really didn't do anything, but they played hard when it matters, and they got the win. So they will go up against the Denver Nuggets. And then in the West, and then over in the other game, we had the Sacramento Kings going up against the Golden State Warriors, and the Kings get the job done, 118-94. So they will play the Pelicans. Both games will be Friday night. They got the late night game. Draymond Green, 12 points. Really, nobody really scored for Golden State. Wiggins, 12. Steph had 22. Kuminga, 16. Moody chipped in with 16. That's really all that scored. Klay Thompson had 0 points in 32 minutes. I just don't understand. How do you go 32 minutes and don't score nothing? You was 0 for 10. That's probably why the Warriors lost, because Klay Thompson is a pivotal piece. How did he not score no points?
Well, nobody else did anything. Klay Thompson went 0 for 10. And they lost. When you cannot make shots, when you cannot score the basketball, that takes a lot of toll on your defense. So I can't really say the Warriors defense did that bad because, again, did all bad because they shot bad, because the only reason they played poor defense because they shot bad. They didn't play well on the offensive side of the ball. And that resulted to 118 points. Klay Thompson, he might well forget about his down max contract or whatever contract he looking for. He might well forget about that, because that last night, that ain't going to get it done right there. That's going to definitely help you and help teams kind of like overlook you a little bit. See if you still have it, which is you can make a case. I'm always believe Klay Thompson is going to be able to shoot, but like I said again, you can't go 0 for 10 in a pivotal game like that. I never seen Klay Thompson go 0 for 10 in a pivotal game. Steph Curry, pretty much the only one that really I can say had a solid game, 22 points last night. But other than that, it was all Sacramento last night. It was just all Sacramento last night. With Sabonis had a double-double. Barnes 17, Keegan Murray killed it with 32 last night. Fox had 24. Ellis had 15.
Let's talk about Ellis. Ellis last night was balling. 15 points. He had 5 assists, 4 rebounds. He was 3 or 4 from 3, 5 of 8 from the field. Every time the commentators was talking, all you heard was Ellis. The Kings played team ball yesterday. You had big points from Keegan Murray. De'Aaron Fox contributed with 24. They just played hard. And here goes Vic said free Steph. Klay lost his mojo. I've never seen Klay Thompson have a poor game like he had last night. 32 minutes and you can't score a bucket? You can't even get to the line and score 2 from the line?
Also, the Kings was hot last night. I mean, they made 18 threes, 46% from the 3-point line. If you can't score, you can't win a game when you can't win a game against someone that has 18 threes and 46% from the 3, and then they 93% from the free throw line. Then they got 28 assists. When you have 28 assists, that means everybody touching the ball. So again, they were dead from the start. I mean, Klay Thompson going 0 for 10, but also you got to deal with the Kings being hot all night too.
Most definitely. And as we got my guy Jake the Snake Silva, he's in the building tonight as our guest. Make sure y'all tune in right after here on the Sports Wave Network for the Snake Sports Talk Show. Jake, what's going on today, man?
What's going on, you guys? Glad to be up on the show finally.
Finally, we get you on.
Y'all clap it up for Jake, my man Jake.
Jake, so we're just talking about the play-in here for the West. Definitely knowing that Klay Thompson did go 0 for 10 and couldn't score a bucket in 32 minutes. Where do you think Klay Thompson goes from here? Is the Warriors done with him? Does he go to another team and maybe rejuvenate himself? What do you think what has to change for this Golden State Warriors team coming in next season?
I think ultimately, I mean, you're kind of seeing already just, the dynasty starting to decimate. I think it was kind of hard of the fact because, I mean, Bob Myers kind of anticipated this happening, knowing that the longer you have Steph, Clay, and Draymond, the harder it is to basically, move on from them and finding your potential replacement. And so I think Clay, it's kind of hard to basically replace a guy like that. Now, we know he doesn't have the same juice as he once did years ago when he was an everyday two. But I think at this point, if you're asking a guy that basically had the most points and who's somebody who came off the bench majority of the time, that's kind of hard to move off of because they're trying to prove a point that, Clay still kind of has it, but you still have to move on and you still have to be able to grow and at the very least rejuvenate this team. So I think, to be honest, it's hard to basically move on from a guy like from Klay Thompson. But I would say, I mean, if Orlando is willing to put out $25 million a year for Klay Thompson, that's a pretty big get. But I don't see Klay Thompson depending on it. Now, if it would be not shocking if he took a team-friendly deal because he's coming off the bench, and if he took like a 2-3 year contract, that would be very much money saving for the Golden State Warriors. But if somebody's going to ask for a 4-year contract out of Klay Thompson, you better surround him with somebody that's already given the kind of talent and the age that they're at if you're going to offer someone like that. So it's kind of hard really to kind of go from, where we go from here with Klay Thompson, but I would not be surprised if he took a team-friendly deal with Golden State. But I think ultimately if he goes anywhere else, he's going to prove to be a really good defensive asset in some areas situationally and be somebody to give you points off the bench.
He has to get to this point in his career where he knows maybe he just can't be a starter anymore. He can be a veteran guy. He can come off the bench, be a role player, maybe a 6-man. I still think Klay can still play. I think his tenure in Golden State might have just come to an end. Everybody needs a new change of scenery. Maybe a change of scenery do him good.
Yeah. I think ultimately, I mean, the one thing you have to look at with the Warriors is they're showing their age. I mean, they're showing how old of a team that they are. And just like in the NFL, how it stands for not for long, this is the same thing when it comes to NBA dynasties. They don't last this long. And so it didn't last that long by the time Kevin Durant came in, won titles, and then left for Brooklyn. And yet you still kind of carried a little of that dynasty, but it's not the same as it once was before. So, again, it's hard to move off from, but I think if you really have to be honest with the Golden State Warriors, I'm not getting rid of Steph. Steph has been the pillar of this organization for years. And I think the hardest thing is I'm not going to get rid of Draymond because that's one guy that gives you the attitude, gives you the defense, and he got better at least late in the season. So that's an asset I can't afford to lose because that's a guy that will straighten anybody up and will get the best of their play game.
I mean, we all know Draymond is the true villain here. But again, like I always said, every team needs a villain on their team to be that dog, to get the team together, get the morale together. Draymond Green, like him or hate him, he is the emotional leader on that team. You take a Draymond off that team, you saw how he struggled. He sets the screens, he gets the other people open, especially Klay and Steph. So I mean, we'll see if we go from there. We'll see what Golden State does. Is this Steve Kerr's last reign? Only thing is with Golden State, they don't develop no players either. Like I just don't understand. I just don't get it. Dante, you think Steve Kerr is his tenure over with Golden State? Do you get a new coach? Do you just clean house and start over?
I think you just basically start over. If you're gonna let go of Clay, you might well just start over. Let go of Draymond Green, and I'd just rather just start over. I wouldn't be surprised if you just flip Steph Curry. But I'm gonna just assume he's alone. He's a retired Warrior, so you got to keep him around. I think you must keep him around. He's a retired Warrior, so you got to keep him around. But again, you might well just start over and rebuild. Like I say, I definitely think they develop well. I mean, they develop. It took Kuminga to have to play steady minutes to get going, so he's good. You got Trace Jackson Davis has been playing really good, hot for him this season. So the development, I think, is there. I just think, the dynasty pretty much lasted a little bit longer than we all thought. So I think they develop players really well. Really,
I
pretty
mean, if
much.
Moody can stay hot like he was, get Moody, developed, he can be in a starting lineup. We got Kerr took a lot of credit for what Steph did. Yeah, he did. Got 4 championships. Who would have thought the Warriors to get 4 championships? Moving over to the East playing, we do have the 76ers going up against the Miami Heat tonight. And also we have the Chicago Bulls and Atlanta. Can Jimmy Butler drag this Heat team out of the play-in for another deep run? Jake, what you think?
I mean, honestly, the way that I look at tonight right now, because Joel Embiid is going to be on a mission, and at the same time, spreading the ball around with Tyrese Maxey, and I mean, the biggest question is, what version of Tobias Harris am I going to get throughout this playoffs? I mean, that's kind of the biggest question mark with everybody in Philadelphia, but I'm very sure with Joel Embiid. I just think right now with where the Miami Heat are at, they could be a top team, but I think the problem of it is they keep running into these spurts that they kind of get cold, and they're having to try to pick themselves up pretty easily. And so I think tonight, to be honest, I think this is going to be the Sixers' night tonight, because in the end, Joel is going to give you the points, and he's going to give you the absolute uncomfortable defense that the offense and Jimmy Butler is going to hate to have to face off against. But Tyrese Maxey, and then at the same time, important role players coming off the bench needs to be the big thing for the Sixers in this game. So I think ultimately, Miami, they on their toes to potentially win the next phase of the play-in. So that's the credit I'm going to give them for that, because like I said, in the end, it's kind of the similar story that we're going to look with the New Orleans Pelicans, because even though the Pelicans lost, Zion played a damn good game. So expect that to be in the second phase of that play-in tournament. And I think ultimately it's going to be the similar thing that I see with the Miami Heat. I just don't think that that's a team you could easily put away, but you can wake them up, shake them up, get the fire burning with the Heat, and I think they'll definitely win in the second part of this round. But I think they're dropping against Philadelphia tonight.
Damian, it's different. The difference between Damian and Lillard is Damian Lillard never won no championship. Steph got 4. There's a difference.
Yeah.
Coach, can Jimmy drag the Heat out for another run?
Yep. We've seen it too many times. Now, I mean, the Heat is confusing to a lot of people, but again, regular season, you'll be like, what's wrong with them? Playoffs, you'll be like, here we go. They get into the finals because they got a great coach. They got a great leader, and Jimmy Butler, who turn it on when it matters the most. And Jimmy Butler, you're not looking at him as no superstar, because I don't think he is a superstar player. I think he's a star. I look at Jimmy Butler as a star player, and I look at him as an all-star. He's a star and an all-star type player. He's not a superstar. He's not a Giannis or Luka Doncic, them people like Curry that you think that the superstars. He's more of a star caliber 3-and-D all-star player. But again, the Heat got a different coach over there. They play defense, and they are built for a 7-game series. Anywhere it goes, I think both teams are making the playoffs, regardless if a win or lose. Because if the Sixers, I'm looking at the Sixers tonight. If you lose and you go down to have to play the win out of Chicago and Atlanta, guess who you got in the first round? Guess who you play in the first round? So if I'm the Sixers, do I want to see Boston? I don't give a damn.
Hell no, I don't want to see Boston in the first round.
You got a healthy Joel Embiid. I don't think they beat Boston. But I do think they got a shot of beating Milwaukee in a 7-game series. You just got to hope Damian Lillard don't turn it on. Because I've seen this guy make big shot after big shot in playoffs. That's one thing he can do in the playoffs. Now, Portland, he hasn't had the roster to get to the finals because Portland been so bad of an organization. But that guy has went to the Western Conference Finals. You just got to hope he doesn't get hot. I know we questions on his defense. It's always been that. But if that guy get hot, it can be a long time. It can be a long day. So I got the Sixers winning this game tonight. But if I'm the Sixers, I'm trying to win and to avoid the Boston Celtics in that first round matchup. I'd rather see Milwaukee in Milwaukee. I'd rather see Milwaukee in the series.
Yeah, we would play the
I think
Knicks.
both teams make it. I think both teams make it either way.
We
Because
would play the Knicks because the Knicks won that game. They number 2.
Oh,
Milwaukee
yeah.
3.
Oh, the Knicks. Oh, that's gonna be when OG Anunoby coming back. Oh, yeah.
Well, here's the funny thing about that to kind of back up what Dante's point is that, yeah, you're the Sixers. I'm not good. You have to ask yourself, how many stars do I want to face off against? I'm not facing off 3 or 4 in Boston. I'd rather be facing off potentially 1 and possibly a really good co-star next to Jalen Brunson in New York, because I guarantee you, I love Jalen Brunson, and honestly, by the offseason, they need to give him a much better 2 to help out with him and OG Anunoby. But don't be surprised if New York becomes Jalen Brunson reliant in that playoff.
Yeah. If you really want to be real, I'm not trying to be homerish. The Sixers' best chance right now is right now.
Yep.
The only time we will see Boston, Eastern Conference Finals, is when we will see Boston. So if we win tonight, that's the Knicks. I believe we can beat the Knicks. Then if we beat the Knicks, we go on to either maybe Milwaukee or Indy, or who's next after that. Then the test would be, can we get to the Eastern Conference Finals? Can we get past the second round? Then the test would be Boston. By then, can Joel be healthy? This is what Joel needs to do. Stay his big ass in the paint. He don't need to try to take the game over and do it all by himself. He has Tyrese Maxey. Kelly Oubre is playing his behind off. Buddy Hield is starting to come in. He has shooters around this time. We didn't have 3-point shooting like we did. He has shooters now. So if we get stuck in a double team, kick it out, somebody's going to be there to shoot. Tobias Harris, thank God this is his last contract year. This is his last year in the Sixers jersey. I just need him to contribute with 15 points. Give me some points, Tobias. Just give me something. Something. That's all I ask for. So Sixers' best chance is now. We'll worry about Boston when we get to the Eastern Conference Finals if we make it that way. But this is not say the easiest path, but this is a clear shot that we can. Who poses? So if Miami gets to 8, can they knock off Boston? We've seen them knock off number 1 last year in Milwaukee. If Boston and the Knicks and the Heat go at it, who wins that series? Dante.
You said Boston and the Knicks and the
Boston and the Heat, because
Boston and the Heat go at it.
Yep.
I'm gonna pick. The favorite is Boston, but I think they can beat them. I think they can beat them. They did it before. It's nothing that I don't think Miami can't do. It's nothing because you already seen it. Like again, they're more of a confusing team in the regular season, but in the playoffs, they more of a 7-game series, man. They more of a playoff team more than they are a regular season. It's all about for them getting people healthy. And, when you got one of the best coaches in the NBA and Eric Spoelstra who knows how to game plan for you in a 7-game series, and you got to deal with Jimmy Butler lighting you up, putting 30 points on your head in the playoffs, and then you got Tyler Hero who's a microwave off of the bench. Duncan Robinson getting a little more playing time. Caleb Moore. You got everybody contributing on that team, man. So, again, they're going to be a tough team. They're going to figure it out. They're going to obviously figure it out.
Jake, you think Boston? You think Boston gets upsetted in the first round? He's stuck in a multiverse. I think we lost him. Did we lose Jake? Jake?
Honestly, I think the Heat and the Celtics would make it a very, very well, very much the most watched. We can hear you. Yeah. I think you could honestly make this a really, really good series. But I don't see the Celtics maybe potentially getting knocked off. But I see them potentially getting worn out by Miami. I think, it'll be a well worth of his series. I think it'll go to 7. But I think the Celtics, they're probably going to get tested up on this. But the problem with it is that even though that, Miami does have a decent bench, who am I trusting outside of Jimmy Butler and Bam Adebayo? Because you got Boston that has Jason Tatum and they got Jaylen Brown, but
But even at the same time, no, I'm not asking him to do much. I'm asking him to basically give me some second chance shots and give me at least. But they're also going to want to expect some. It'll be interesting for me personally, but I think ultimately they'll get tested, but I don't think they'll get knocked out. I think it'll be a 7-game series between them and the Heat.
All right, so we'll see tonight who will win tonight against the Heat and the Sixers. Whoever wins that game automatically goes to the 7th seed. The loser will play between the Hawks and Chicago. I'm not talking about that series because that is a damn poop bowl. I'm over the play-in. Can we just go back to 1 through 8? Why is even Chicago and Atlanta even in it to win the playoffs? Like, play-in irks my nerves. Just go straight to 8 through 1.
But it should tell you a lot about the Eastern Conference.
Right. So we usually don't talk about hockey on here, but it is hockey season, and Jake is the hockey guy. Hockey playoffs are starting. Of course, Flyers, they couldn't get it done. But your Golden Knights are in the playoffs yet again. What's your expectations and how far can the reigning, defending champs go?
I think ultimately this has been a battle-tested season, and something I pretty much have anticipated in the end. But this has actually become a very exciting Stanley Cup playoffs for the most part because you're seeing a lot of different movements in the Eastern Conference. But like I said before, I did not trust Pittsburgh in the middle of it because I think once you have, Kyle Dubas, when he got fleeced in the trade deadline with Carolina, it's just like these are some old contracts they need to give. I mean, we talked about Steph, Clay, and all of that. Needs to figure this out.
Jake stuck. I know you're a Penguins fan. I know that hurt. Jake, I need you to get some reception. Until Jake comes back, Dante, what is going on with Michael Porter Jr.'s brother? Dante, what's his name? Jonte Murray. Porter got banned. Lifetime ban for gambling. Everybody was like, "Oh well, Williamson and Calvin Ridley in the NFL, they gambled, they got suspended." But his is more drastic because he took himself out of the game, claimed he had an illness, and then he told the bettor what his health was. How dumb can you be to bet these games? And then you flip 80,000, I think, turned it into 1 million. This whole situation is crazy. So Adam Silver put a stamp on it. It was like, all right, this is what we're going to do. Lifetime ban. Your thoughts of Porter getting a lifetime ban, and does he set an example for others who want to think about betting?
I don't think he's setting an example because a lot of people are still doing it. I think a lot of people still doing it, about still going to gamble. They're still going to figure out how to do it. So I won't say he's setting an example for it because people still gamble. So, again, he deserves it. He deserves it. And from lying to the public, from lying to his coaching staff and everything. But do I say it set an example? I don't think it does because a lot of people still out there, they're going to gamble. They're going to do the same thing.
Take your thoughts on Jonte Porter. Jake, I need you to get some reception.
Oh yeah. He's gone. I mean, all
Black Sox level of gambling. Jake having his Wi-Fi issues, but it's just dumb. Like, and then he was betting on games while he was in the G League. But and I guess the NFL is different. I know Roger Goodell's probably more lenient, but I'm sure ain't nobody really do nothing drastic like this. They just bet on college games and games like that. But whenever you get the Department of Justice and the FBI involved, it's something serious. So you risk your career, your pride, everything, because you are Michael Porter Jr.'s brother. So how did that? I don't know, how did that household look like? And it's just crazy. Like, it was for no reason. You're getting paid millions to play the game that you love as a career, and you want to do something dumb. But look, I ain't got no sympathy for you, because you should have known not to do it. You good now?
You guys hear me all right?
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm good now. I don't know why that it keeps dropping out. All right. But yeah, I just
Everybody knows these days that when you start gambling and you're gambling up on your own team, there's no excuses up at this point. So I don't care how the circumstance or how the situation was, because in the end, look at Pete Rose. The reason Pete Rose is not even up into the Hall of Fame is because of the same similar reason. And then at the same time, like, you look at, the Black Sox scandal and all the rest of it, it's been going on for a long time. And so you should be smart enough to know that. I mean, think about it. We just had the Shohei Ohtani thing with his interpreter. So if it wasn't Shohei Ohtani, things could have been a lot worse. It could have very much been a lot worse. But ultimately, you're an athlete. You're a human being. You're paid well to basically know the rules and the standards. So, no.
Here we go with the Ja thing. He technically didn't break any laws, though, with Ja Morant. I know he waved a gun. He technically didn't break any laws. It's a bad look for his image in the NBA. So yes, they did suspend him for it. I hopefully he's on a straight and narrow. He was going to be balling when he came back, and then he got injured. So hopefully he got his act together.
Remember, Damian. Sorry about that, but there's a difference between a character issue and a decision that you made on your own, even when you knew the rules. There's a difference behind that, because your character issue will get you suspended, and they're going to ask you to enter into a player's assistant program, because they're not going to have that around in the league. Whereas you make a decision to end up gambling, knowing damn well that you had the rules, you were paid well to know, understand all of that. Sorry. There's a difference between a character issue and a decision like that.
And, if you have gun license, you can have a weapon. If you know that, if you know that, even though I don't think it was illegal to him. But again, he doing it off the court, man. He's not doing anything while he's on the court. That's just a character issue. That's nothing. That's you're gonna have everybody. Most people are gonna have character issues. You can't. That's off the court. That's off the court, not on the court. He ain't gambling when he's not supposed to. While he's on his squad, he ain't gambling.
Yeah, so I mean, I get it, but gambling is totally different, because it messes with the integrity of the game. So I see why gambling is a big deal. Just don't do it, because you're going to be dumb enough. You're going to get caught. Heck, I'm not condoning it, but damn it, have somebody else bet for you. Look, give it to me. Just give me a cut when you win. Like most say, get a fall guy. But switching over to the NFL. Jake is the Charger fan up here. He do have a top pick in this year's NFL draft, at number 5. Jake, talk about your team. You got a new head coach, but your receivers go, both of Mike Williams and Keenan Allen. You still got Justin Herbert. You re-signed Khalil Mack. Both got Bosa back. What is your hopes for the Chargers this season? Jake, did you hear me?
Yeah, can you hear me?
Yeah.
So what was the question on it again?
Your expectations for the Chargers this year. You got a new head coach. You lost your receivers. You got a top pick in the draft this year. You bring back your key guys on defense. What's your expectations this year?
Ultimately, I mean, as much as the changes and everything that has kind of faltered to the LA Chargers up to this point, it's a new breed. It's a new change. I think the ultimate expectation of it is that they're trying to change a culture. They are trying to set the tone to where that terminology of chargering is no more. It's dead in the past. So having a guy like Jim Harbaugh there, it's going to be interesting to really see what happens in draft night next week. There's multiple headlines right now. One, are they going to take a receiver in the first pick, or are they going to potentially get some offensive line? Who knows? And a lot of people, here's the thing, I've been hearing an awful lot when it came to offensive line needs to be a top priority. I'm aware and I understand that. But at the same time, too, are you honestly and sincerely sure about the wide receiving core? Because depending on, again, Josh Palmer is a damn good receiver. He's definitely played a lot of his best games. But how many looks is he going to end up getting this next up and coming season? And then everybody's asking the same big question about what's going to happen with Quentin Johnston. Is he honestly going to step up from the rookie disappointment that he had? Not sure exactly how that pans out. But, my biggest thing is if you take a wide receiver, the answer should be Malik Neighbors, because you're getting a dynamic playmaker. You're getting a guy that basically runs his routes very well and comes from wide receiver U at LSU. So you got to get the top best thing available to build a new relationship with Justin Herbert, because that's eventually what you need to do. It's wide receiver, it's O-line, it's defensive pieces as well that needs to happen. And so, but I think if you could get away with offensive line, I know the biggest conversation was potentially trading with the Minnesota Vikings to getting the 11th and the 23rd pick, which is an interesting thing. I just think that if you take those first rounders and you just go offensive line, how are you going to end up getting a dynamic playmaker at wide receiver, which is kind of the hardest thing. I know a lot of people kind of think about, what about like Xavier Legette? What do you think about like a Donnie Mitchell? And like a lot of the wide receiving core is absolutely like as stacked as it possibly can be this year in this draft. And so, but a lot of people have to realize, yes, Greg Roman is big about the run game, but Jim Harbaugh knows where the talent is with Justin Herbert, because why? He coached around that with Andrew Luck. So a pocket type quarterback knows how to throw it, knows how to sling it. And then at the same time, you just need to give him a healthy enough run game. He had that with Toby Gerhart. He had that with a couple of other really good running backs. And so it'll be interesting enough to basically see where that kind of goes to. But I'm just saying this, I'm not freaking out whatsoever. And I'm not going to question so much of this, this new regime, because who knows what Joe Ortiz is going to be capable of and what Jim Harbaugh's expectations is going to be. And so it'll be interesting to really kind of see that. But hopefully they can figure this out, and that the Chargers could honestly turn this culture around. So if he turns it around in this first year, it'll be interesting.
So who do you want them to pick at number 5?
I'm hoping and crossing my fingers. I hope that they end up taking Malik Neighbors at number 5. That's going to be my only hope of it, because you deserve to give Justin Herbert at least a playmaker from there. Because the other thing is, you have 3 wide receivers right now in this wide receiving core, between Josh Palmer, Quentin Johnston, and Darius Davis, which Darius Davis is doing majority of the special teams unit. So are you really going to start trusting that those receivers are going to end up stepping up in a big way in this new regime? Hard to say. But I think if you get a playmaker from there, this helps with the development of Quentin Johnston even more. And even so, even if you're going to get a wide receiver in the second round, you're hoping that it could be either Xavier Legette, or it could be somebody that could be very much utilized in that position. But honestly, if you're going to think of a guy like Roman Wilson, take him in either the 3rd or the 4th round. That's kind of the only thing if he's still available. That's what I would be doing if I'm the Chargers moving forward.
Dante, on the outsider looking in, and we already know your Texans is set up good, but who would you like for the Chargers to take at number 5?
If I'm the Chargers, I'm immediately give me another playmaker. Simple as that. I'm immediately give me another playmaker. Marvin Harrison is going to be gone at 3, probably at 4. Right at the Cardinals, he's going to be gone. Malik Neighbors is obvious probably the next best wide receiver that could come off the board. So if I'm the Chargers, I go ahead and snatch Malik Neighbors off the board. You got to get a weapon with your first pick. You got to get a weapon. I know if they want to go somewhere else, that will be fine because the wide receiver core is deep in this class. But you got to get Malik Neighbors, who has an opportunity to be a stud in this league. So you got to go ahead and get him, and you can get the rest of your pieces in the next round because this wide receiver class is really, really deep, and they can also target another one later in the draft. They can also target another. So I think they need a couple more good wide receivers as well. So yeah.
Depending on where the Chargers draft at in the second round and knowing Jim Harbaugh, do you think he goes after Blake Corum? Knowing, I know they got Gus Edwards, and Gus Edwards is injury prone. Is it a shot that he can get Blake Corum?
Not a shock. Not a shock at all.
If the opportunity is there, I think it would. It wouldn't be a shock. He coached.
I don't think honestly, if you're going to look at Blake Corum, I don't think that that's somebody that you would want to get in the second round very easily. I think because of the way the running back class is, you could actually snag Blake Corum either in the third or fourth round if that's the case, because he'll basically be that sneaky running back. But I do anticipate seeing that because he just has such a great relationship with Jim Harbaugh, and he's the guy that is a winner. He's the guy that is willing to do any and everything and sacrifice himself to ensure that the team is going to be in the best position possible. So I think if he's available in the third or fourth round, I think you would go with that. And even if you go in the second round, you go and get, the next best offensive lineman from there, then that'll at least ensure a lot more depth and a lot more dependability as well in some of those offensive key areas.
All right.
I think Harrison and Malik Neighbors. I think Malik Neighbors will still be that with the Chargers. I think Harrison will be gone. Because you look at the draft, you got Chicago's definitely taking Caleb Williams. You have New England. They take a quarterback. I think they take a quarterback.
Washington's taking a QB.
Washington's taking a quarterback. So I think the top three take a quarterback. I think Neighbors will be there. Possibility.
And Vic said he agrees that Harbaugh will go with Corum. So the next two after, the top three teams are picking a QB: New England, Chicago, Washington, and then it's Arizona, and then the Chargers. I think, like you said, Marvin Harrison goes to number 4 with Kyler Murray, and Malik Neighbors definitely will go there. Anything after that, it's whatever. A lot of teams can trade up. This is true. But before we move on to anything else, it's not a show if we don't talk about Cowboys and the Lakers. And we already talked about the Lakers. So we talked the good things about the Lakers. But, Coach, who's on your list this week at number 1?
Oh, God. All right, so we got number 5. It's a shocking to you, Key, but it's not a shocking. And Mo gonna hate me for this, but your boy Cam. You remember that guy? Oh, Cam Whitmore has been killing it all season. He's at number 5, 21 points, 5 rebounds, 6 rebounds, and 5 assists. I know Mo's not gonna like that one because every team in the top 19 passed up on him, including Mo. Lakers, who Mo really wanted Cam Whitmore, and now you got to deal with him going to be a stud for the next couple of years. Number 4, you got Amen Thompson. I got to reward the kid. His first ever triple-double. That kid going to be scary. If he ever finds him a mid-range or a three-point shot, won't nobody be able to stop this kid from scoring the ball. Zion Williamson at number 3, 40 points, 11 rebounds. Keegan Murray, 32 and 9. And, it's a shocking right here, but Chicago Sky is number 1.
Oh, my God. Why? Because they got the duo. Good grief. If y'all have not seen Coach's reaction to getting Angel Reese and Camila Cardoso, I suggest you go look that up because it was hilarious. Just how he is now is how he was in the draft. But going back to the NFL, Jerry Jones. It's not a show if we're not talking about the Cowboys. Jerry Jones. He said, well, no, this was Stephen Jones. He said, we will max out our salary cap. something Damian is actually excited for is the Chicago Sky and not the Chicago Bulls.
They better
But
than Chicago. I don't blame them for being excited. They better than the Chicago Bulls right now.
Stephen Jones, the vice president of the Cowboys, on the roster, he said, and I quote, "We will max out our salary cap to pay the top guys." Do you see that happening? Do you see CeeDee Lamb already not going to he's going to hold out for a contract. You still got to pay Michael Parsons. They already said they're not going to pay Dak. You're not going to have a coach next year. What the hell is Dallas doing?
I don't know what they're doing. I don't know what Jerry Jones is going to do. It's hard to predict Jerry Jones because in all season he said they were going to be aggressive. He wasn't aggressive, so it's hard to predict what Jerry Jones was going to do. We know Jerry Jones has the money. We know he has the money to do all of that, to get all them players taken care of. Is actions speak louder than words, and he lost Tony Pollard this year and everything. Again, Jerry Jones has the money, but what if he does it or not? That remains to be seen. We talk a lot, but hey, it's all about being a part of the action.
Jake, you still here?
Yeah, I'm still here.
So what's going on with Jerry?
Jerry Jones just needs to stay off of media completely because I have no answer with as far as the Cowboys. I just think they got their heads in the clouds for so long, and at least they know that they're not going to pay Dak because he's not a $60 million a year type of quarterback, and you already know that. His best years that he had, even in his rookie season, he's not going to have that again. So the best option that honestly the Cowboys should do is retain CeeDee Lamb because that's your surefire offensive player. Because in the end, I like Micah Parsons, but man, there are times where I feel like he just sounds delusional in his podcast. I understand you're defending a lot of your players, but at the same time, it just doesn't make any sense to end up having to max yourselves out. So you're going to be willing to take the penalty, no matter how high that the risk is. You're willing to take that penalty, and then you're going to pay the price for it later on when everybody else you can't seem to afford, and then you're going to have to force trades. This is part of the reason that I just think they're trying to avoid the actual conversation that the Cowboys should be having. So I'm not sure, but honestly, I would not shy away at all from trying to extend CeeDee Lamb in any way possible. I would definitely be working really, really hard to end up extending his contract.
Do you see anybody potentially leaving if they don't get paid?
Well, we already know that they're not going to keep Dak around, but Dak is definitely going to end up having a contract elsewhere because somebody will utilize his talents. But honestly, I could potentially see Micah Parsons leaving if he doesn't end up getting a contract at some point. But ultimately, the one who's really under fire is going to be Mike McCarthy at the end of it. But that's going to be up to the Jones family how they really want to go about this.
Dante, do they draft a QB knowing that Dak is going to be out next year? Do you try Trey Lance, or do you go in the draft and get you a QB?
You go in the draft and get you a QB. You may not be in the popular first round, but he's got to be in the later round. But you draft your QB. If you don't trust in Trey Lance to be next up, then you draft your QB. Simple as that. You have a quarterback competition.
I feel like nobody gives Trey Lance a shot.
I think they need to draft him a running back. They need to draft a running back.
They need something. They just sign a running back. Nobody of a big name, but they did sign somebody. I don't know who it was.
A running back.
Yeah, it was Royce Freeman.
Royce Freeman. Good grief.
Yeah, I'm still drafting a running back.
That's not gonna move no needle. Royce Freeman.
I'm still drafting one.
Royce Freeman. This is their running back room. Royce Freeman, Deuce Vaughn, and Rico Dowell. That's your running back room.
Yeah, I ain't rolling with that. I'd be working hard to get Jonathan Brooks.
Micah Parsons wants to be an Eagle. Running back room leaves much to be desired. It's not a needle mover. For all that, you could have brought back Zeke for cheap. For all that, or what's his face, Dalvin Cook. but you had your one juggernaut at running back who was one of the biggest free agents of running backs, and you didn't even attempt to try to go get him in Derrick Henry. But speaking of the Eagles and staying in the NFC East, Jalen Hurts spoke today, and we all know this is going to be his third offensive coordinator in 3 years, Kellen Moore. They already gave Devontae Smith. They extended Smitty until 3 years. 3-year deal, $75 million, 51 of that guaranteed. So he's locked up through Philly through 2028. Jordan Mailata got a deal. Landon Dickinson got a deal. We've seen Hassan Reddick gets traded to the Jets. They bring in Huff. So the Eagles shaking, moving. They got pick number 22. CJ Gardner-Johnson's back. So my question to you guys is, how do you think Jalen Hurts will evolve around a new offense in Kellen Moore? Jake, since you had Kellen Moore as offensive coordinator, what do you think he's going to do to elevate this Eagles offense? And also they got Saquon Barkley as well.
I think what you're going to get, and what the Chargers have basically tried to do with Kellen Moore, and with the amount of times we've watched him in Dallas, I think with Kellen Moore, you are going to end up getting some passing plays, because I think what this is going to try to elevate is it's going to try to elevate A.J. Brown a little bit more, and Devontae Smith. So I think Kellen Moore, he's going to be an all-around mixture for the Eagles moving forward. But thank God that Saquon Barkley finally has an offensive line that he can efficiently run with, because that's been one of the biggest problems. At least under Brian Daboll, he was able to get the best out of him. So I think it's clear-coded that Saquon Barkley, you're getting a hell of a running back, familiar territory, and being there in Pennsylvania. But I think ultimately, Kellen Moore, he's going to do whatever it takes to spread the ball around, but they should at the very least be efficient on the run game, but at the same time too, be more efficient up on the passing and trusting a lot of your receivers that you got.
Dante, your thoughts? A third offensive coordinator for Jalen Hurts going into his season. What do you think Kellen Moore will do with this offense?
I think Kellen Moore can do a good job. Kellen Moore is known as more being passing the ball a lot, but I think once you got a very great elite running back there, along with Jalen Hurts, you got to account for it. You got to be able to run the ball effectively, and I believe the Eagles will. They have one of the top offensive lines in football. But also, you do got A.J. Brown over there and Devontae Smith, who you re-signed back as well. So I think it's going to be more spread around. I believe it will be more of a mixture between the running and the passing game this year.
Yeah, I think Jalen Hurts will be okay. I think he'll adjust and adapt to whatever changes need be. Vic said he's worried about the O-line, knowing Jason Kelce was a big part of that offensive line. Life moves on once one retires, but we do have Cam Jurgens, who's going to be the center. That guard spot where Jurgens was at, like I said, Tyler Steen is pretty raw. Do we draft somebody in the offensive line to stick there? Do you try to, free agency, get somebody? But I don't know. We'll see. I'm excited. I'm just glad that we got new defense all around. Now, how Vic Fangio is going to do with the defense? We've seen Sean Desai. We've seen Matt Patricia. That defense was god awful and couldn't cover a cold last year if it was right in front of him. Couldn't cover God if he was down there right in front of him. They 32-9 in the playoff game was just terrible. I can't say we was the worst 10-1 team, but I shouldn't be stressful if my team is 10-1. I shouldn't be stressful. I shouldn't have been stressful. But what do you think this defense does now? Since the Big Fangio's in, we're going to be moving to the 3-4. Secondary was our big issue. Hassan Reddick is going now. You get the edge. Now we got some younger guys in here. Will we see more Jalen Carter? Will we see Nolan Smith? The linebacker situation, where does the Eagles defense, how will Vic Fangio change this Eagles defense? Dante?
Well, I think he changes it really good. But at the end of the day, when I say if the defense don't work out, you're going to have to start looking at the players, start looking at how good the players actually are. But I think one big problem was the secondary. took a dramatic turn, and James Bradbury, he couldn't cover. No matter what coach was out there last year, he couldn't cover no goddamn body. No matter what coach coached him last year, Darius Slade couldn't tackle. The whole defense couldn't. The Eagles had to be probably the worst tackling team that I probably saw all last year. But again, if they get some solid linebackers over there, I think that will be fine. That will be fine. I think they're gonna do good versus the running game. That's not probably a concern in my book. I think they'll do really well. Josh Huff is pretty good over there. Jalen Carter, he's going to be a run stop over the middle. So the concern to me is not the run. I don't think that many people are going to run the ball, but the secondary, CJ Gardner-Johnson back does help out a lot as well. But you got James Bradbury. I think James Bradbury and Darius Slay, how much do they have left in the tank?
Jake? You muted.
I think Vic Fangio really is going to end up fixing this defense, but I do think right now what should be on the Eagles' radar as far as their build, they should really start to focus in on getting a corner in their first pick, because ultimately, James Bradbury right now and Darius Slade, their time's kind of running up. That's part of the reason having CJ Gardner-Johnson back in some areas. But even at that point, that timeline's getting ran up too. So I think the Eagles, the best chances right now is to basically fix up that corner spot so that way there's enough depth, and then it's an easier shift to keep the defense consistent. And I think by that point, I mean, offensive line is not as terrible. You still have at least 3 good, possibly 4 potential pieces that are there. But I would take an offensive lineman for depth, but I probably would be taking it either in the second or the third round, and then in the later rounds at the very least to kind of keep depth on their side. But I'd honestly would be focusing more on defense, and I do think, honestly, Fangio is going to make this defense a lot better. And again, Miami schematics, it kind of seemed like it was a different language that he was teaching as far as their defensive schematics were set. But I think with the Eagles, they are going to end up understanding it. I think some of them kind of play to that type of strength that Fangio has been able to provide, even in his days in Chicago. So I think in the end, I think this is going to work perfectly for, Philadelphia moving into a different style of defense. But I think it's honestly going to be one that'll be much better for the Eagles, especially with them in a mulligan season this year, where they have to be better than what they finished up with last season, late in the season. So I honestly do think they need to go with corner in the first pick. And honestly, if Nate Wiggins and Khalid McKinstry are available, those are probably going to be your best guys to rally up around.
Like I was saying, like we've been preaching it all the time. Me and Vic and E should have been got a corner. Like the Derek Stingley year or the year that year. Then I think that's the year that they should have went off the corner. But again, corner has consistently hurt the Philadelphia Eagles. Really hurt the Philadelphia Eagles and put them in a bind. The first chance you get, you have to get a corner or linebacker. And I think since Kaiser White left, the linebacking core just dipped down. Come on, Zach Cunningham could never cover any damn body. Even when he could tackle somebody, but he could never cover anybody. So I think that linebacker and that corner position for the last 4 years, the Eagles had dodged cornerback, and they never got a really good corner. I think they need to start looking at that. They need to start looking at that cornerback position.
That's Harry Roseman. He got to go out his box. I thought when he moved up, I really thought we was going to get Kyle Hamilton. He got Jordan Davis. I'm not complaining, but I'm just like, Jordan Davis, Kyle Hamilton was right there.
I understand, but Kyle, I understand. I definitely understand that part right there, and which is I agree on. Jordan Davis not there yet, but Kyle Hamilton, a superstar, elite player. You don't pass up on an elite player. You just can't do it.
I'm like, oh, we moving up to get Hamilton. Killed my heart. It was like the Jalen Rager all over again.
Yeah, and then considering the fact that they've got Jalen Carter, in the middle of that mix, and yet it worked out. It worked out the way that it was supposed to, because in the end, that's where Fletcher Cox ended up retiring, and so you were going to need to get your new breed of your defensive line.
They tried to find diamonds in the rough just to get just to get Cole. Yeah, that was a good one. No, they did. I know that your diamonds in the rough are in the later rounds, but so hopefully we can get our secondary. We at 22. We can. I think we can still get a good player at 22. So we'll definitely see next week. Now 25th is the draft, so it is coming. McPherson was good on special teams, but will he pan out to be a good corner? We don't know. We don't know. Sidney Brown, he's coming off an ACL injury. I don't want to get too stressed out. So St. Vincent, Jesus Christ. Moving on into some MLB talk. I know Vic will be happy. He's in the chat. His Yankees ain't playing too bad. 13-6. Coach, are you still not worried about your squad?
Nope.
6-14 in the basement. You still not
Been down, we done that. Not worried.
Jake, surprisingly, your A's is 8-11.
Mm-hmm.
Moving. Do you like the move going to Sacramento for right now until y'all move to Vegas?
I don't understand why, the move to Sacramento, but obviously I know how Oakland fans in general usually are. When you end up signing a deal and you're potentially moving, they're not going to want you there. And so as of right now, not really thrilled about it being there in Sacramento for at least for 2 to 3 years. I kind of joked about it, calling them the Sacramento A's of Las Vegas and like all the rest of it. I mean, it is it's an interesting thing. And then you look at the situation with the Arizona Coyotes. They talked about them getting a spot in Scottsdale, and then all of a sudden the roadblock from the Scottsdale governor were basically saying, we're not going to allow you to end up using the water that we have up here in Scottsdale, when really you can make a potable access there in order for the entirety of the arena to be more enclosed. So instead of that, now they're moving to Salt Lake City. So I think ultimately, the A's, they're going to try to make this at least the best season that they possibly can. It's a great start. Who knows how long that they can honestly keep it up, but be interesting to see kind of down the stretch here to see what the A's are going to potentially look like.
Oh, dang. Former Albany defensive lineman AJ Simon, who was hoping to get selected in next week's draft, dies at the age of 25. Oh, man. Burns says Oakland's losing all these professional sports teams. What the hell's going on in Oakland?
It's ran down. There's nothing there anymore. It's a ran down town. It's expensive, and at the same time, nothing has been renovated at all in this town. So you're better off to be basically putting these teams in better situations. That's why the Warriors have moved a little bit more north upward up into San Francisco, and that the Raiders now are basically up in Las Vegas, and potentially the A's are going to be up there. But yeah, the Oakland, it's not the same anymore. Ever since the 89 earthquake, they've ran down. They haven't renovated or fixed anything or really kind of put any money into it, because they never really put any efforts or supports into, caring about the team.
Well, you saw what happened in the you see what happened in the stands in Oakland, and it gets caught on national TV. I mean, you might as well have some fun on national TV and get taken care of. I'm sorry, that was the most funniest, hilarious thing I've ever seen in my life. And it got caught on TV by the announcers. It was hilarious. I'm sorry, like they didn't care. They was out in the open. They could have went in the cut, because there is a cut of Oakland and that where they could have went in the cut and did. Nope. They're like, you know what? We're gonna be free willy-nilly out here. I don't care. That was hilarious.
The fact that they were ended up doing that for about $5 a pop is hilarious.
all Vegas needs now is the NFL, as an NBA team. You already got hockey. You already got football and the Raiders. You already got the Aces and the women's. Baseball's coming. You might as well get an NBA team. Vegas, get an NBA team. Y'all be complete.
And they be holding the summer leagues every year. So not a bad idea to start looking up at them now.
So Damien has a question, which is actually a good question, Damien. Good job for asking something that's sensible. He said, the A's and Raiders, since they share the stadium together, how do you see the Bears and White Sox working it out since they're most likely be sharing stadiums?
That's going to be an interesting one. I mean, it just depends really like on the climates that you normally would see like at in their White Sox stadium, because if it honestly pans out very well from that point on, but I just don't really see the sharing of the baseball field with the Bears at all. It just doesn't make it just doesn't make any sense to end up sharing with a baseball team at all in general. Because then how in the hell are you honestly going to have enough room for people to be there? If you're going to have a field, have a field. It's just going to be really, really interesting from that point on. I'm not sure how well that's honestly going to work, but who knows? It may be an interesting scenery for sure, being there in that side of Chicago.
Coach, your thoughts on the sharing of the stadiums? I think the Bears is getting a new stadium, but I guess until then they're gonna have to share with the White Sox.
Nah, man, Jake said it all.
All right, so before we get on out of here, we do gotta talk about the WNBA draft. I'm sorry, Dante, we gotta relive it. I'm sorry. The WNBA draft was the most highest rating draft so far this year. 2.4 million tuned in to see where these young ladies will spend their career. And I know we got to relive it. I'm sorry, Dante. I'm so sorry. We got to go through relive the first round. We all know who won this draft, but Caitlin Clark overall goes number 1 to the Indiana Fever, and everybody complaining about how much these girls make. But this is what it is. Until we get more viewership, more revenue, more teams in the WNBA, the salary will be higher. I'm gonna call it now. Juju Watkins has 3 more years left until she comes out. She will be the first one to get the $1 million contract. But Caitlin Clark goes number 1. ESPN, all the networks, they already said we're going to show 36 of the 40 games on the Fever on live national TV. Caitlin Clark's jersey already sold out, and their tickets for the Fever is starting out at $206. So tell me that Caitlin Clark is not already making an impact, and she didn't even step foot on the WNBA court yet. Cameron Brink, Stanford, goes to the Lakers. Not to the Lakers, the Sparks. Camila Cardoso, national championship team of South Carolina. That's all right, Dante. You know I wanted it too. Goes to number 3 to the Chicago Sky. 6'7". Who is stopping Camila in the paint? But anyway, Rakia Jackson goes to the Sparks. J.C. Sheldon goes to the Wings. Leah Edwards, who Dante wanted for his Wings, goes to Washington. And damn it, what did Angel Reese go to? Chicago Sky gets the best duo in all of the WNBA. These two were rivals in college, LSU and South Carolina. We've seen the matchup that they did this past in the Natty and SEC championship game. We see how they battle back and forth. But that is the best center and the best power forward. And you put them together? Chicago Sky won this draft, y'all. They won this draft. Elisa Pilley goes to Minnesota Link, and some others who finished off. But Coach, I know you hate it. I know you wanted, one of them for your team. But talk about this draft and the Chicago Sky. How are they going to do this season?
You really gonna do that?
Yes, I am. At the end of the day, we still got to talk about it.
No, we don't. We didn't have to talk about it. We could avoid that. We could talk about everybody else. Other than that, you got the best center and the best power forward duo. The one thing I will be concerned about for Chicago, the guard situation. Well, they got Marina Mabry, who's really good as well, who can put up 20 points per game. So that team gonna be more competitive this year. I think they can win at least 15 games if everything break right. On a bad season, on a down year, the floor is at least 12. That's the floor. But the ceiling, I would say 16.
The game is tonight, Vic, so he's not playing tonight. Jake, your thoughts on Chicago? You know how many they ceiling for how many wins they're gonna get?
Whew. This is going to be interesting to watching the Chicago Sky this year. Because I mean, ultimately, really good duo. I was very, I mean, I for one was very surprised at the fact that Chicago was able to nail off a move like that. But this is honestly going to be the golden age right now for women's basketball, and it rightfully should be, because the fact that you're having the most polarizing athlete in sports right now, and Caitlin Clark, is one that is making a come up for women everywhere. And so I know people want to feel outraged and they want to basically feel some type of way because of the contract and all the rest of it. But you have to understand the reality. This is what the WNBA has been for years. So it has not grown itself into its biggest potential until this year. And so you're going to see that by the amount of views that the WNBA is going to end up getting. But remember this, the NBA, they need to make a move to make a huge pivot for their league in the next couple of years. Because right now, it's being ran by international stars, by Luka, by Wemby, by Jokic, by Giannis. So there's no domestic star that's out there that's outside of Caitlin Clark's realm. So as of right now, it's not going to look good for the NBA at all if they don't figure this out. But I think in the WNBA, you're going to see a lot of massive views that are going to be there that are going to tune in to Caitlin Clark because she's just that polarizing of an athlete. But at the same time, you have her facing off against the Chicago Sky, the Las Vegas Aces, New York Liberty, some bits and pieces of it, the Connecticut Sun and the Seattle Storm. So there is competition that's there. So give this puppy at least 2-3 years to cook, because if it starts to get better with its ratings and its views, part of that reason is because that Caitlin Clark effect is going to start commencing. So if you think you saw it all in college, wait until you see it all in the WNBA. But I think Chicago is trying to get better with their core. And I think having a double duo like that between Cardoso and Angel Reese is going to really help them to kind of get a little bit more over the hump and really kind of compete in it with teams like the New York Liberty and the Las Vegas Aces. So be interesting to see how this all kind of really pans out. But I think this year is honestly going to start the golden age era of WNBA.
I know everybody's like, oh, it's women's basketball. They're not flashy. They don't dunk. But I'm sorry. So these these games has been, they competitive. I mean, if you want to watch some fundamentally sound basketball, watch a women's game. They might dunk from time to time, depending on who it is. But you'll get those ones who dunk here and there. But you know the viewership's gonna go up when the guys are talking about women's basketball. When the guys are starting to talk about it, KG was talking to Paul Pierce. He said, I can't tell you 5 names from the men's March Madness tournament, but I can tell you 5 from the girls. That's how exciting it is. And like I said, women's basketball, WNBA, it's only going to go up. Just give it some time. But
mind you, this is outside of Zach Edey. That's the only one that we're honestly going to be speaking about. But everybody else, there's not one name to particularly name off of. This draft is not going to be great.
Yeah, I can't even tell you who's in the men's. Zach Edey, DJ Burns, and some of those guys. I can't even hold you. Dante knows more to get the men than I didn't really watch them. I didn't really watch the men's tournament. I've seen a couple games, but that was really it. Vic said, I told you, Key, it shouldn't be that the guys are talking about it. Women have to step it up too. Yeah, exactly. Women gotta support the women too. Not all women enjoy sports, but that's where it gotta come from. So I get it. I get it. Demographics does yeah. So I do understand it. But your Aces didn't do too bad either. Reigning champs, see if they can three-peat. They could be the first team to go 3 championships. Last team to do that again was Dante's Houston Comets. For championships in a row, I don't know. Aces probably could do it. Candace Parker coming back for another year. But definitely leagues getting faster, getting bigger. But Jake, one more MLB question before we roll on out of here. What team are you most likely? What team are you drawn to, or what one superstar that you have been looking at that's going to change the MLB right now?
I think the one team that really is going to start like really turning heads, if they haven't done so already, and this has been a team that some people have called as a laughing stock. Some people have called, a series of unfortunate events or whatnot. But the team in Major League Baseball that's really making the come out onto them is the Baltimore Orioles. Because to be honest, this culture is now starting to change. They've got they had the 4 best prospects in the minor leagues that were tearing it up for the Norfolk Tides. And so by that point, Jackson Holiday gets called up. Gunnar Henderson right now is off to a really good hot start right now. And at the same time, they're also, gravitating to their pitching staff as well. Eventually, Heston Kjerstad is going to end up being there as well this year. But I think this is ultimately the best build right now for this organization is the Baltimore Orioles. And at the same time, you knew how serious that the Orioles were. The second ownership ended up getting sold, and now a new ownership with new money starts to come in. And the first thing that they end up doing is they ended up trading for Corbin Burns. Like, that's the one thing that the Orioles, they are not going to end up being that same old mediocre team that they've always been in the AL East for a very long time. This team wants to compete. They want to win. And I think watch out for them, because I think that they're honestly going to end up pulling off. They'll be this year's Texas Rangers. That'll be a team that very much catches them by surprise. They were a young team last season. Now you've got mixtures of guys that are going into their second years in the Major League Baseball. But I honestly do think the Baltimore Orioles are definitely the team that's going to catch people by surprise.
Sidon said he don't believe the story with Ohtani. He said, "What kind of money? How could you not know someone's stealing from you?" Look, when you got millions like that, you don't know what's missing. I mean, I check my account down to the penny. I know what's missing, but when you got money like that, you don't be looking. Do y'all think we get women in MLB and NFL with the WNBA getting better? I doubt that. I mean, we already got women's hockey. I don't see, MLB or the NFL. Now we might see. I think we're going to see a potential female head coach in the NBA. I think we're going to get that pretty soon. Becky Hammond, I thought she was going to be Popovich's replacement. Honestly, I thought she was. But we never know. I think we're closer than you think to getting a female NBA coach. I think it'll happen. Somebody even was like, let Dawn Staley coach an NBA team. But, we'll definitely see. Dante, you get Verlander back Friday. Any thoughts on that?
Any thoughts on that? Oh, he'll help out pitching out. Right now, the bats, we can't hit with runners in scoring position right now. But I say I'm not concerned. We've been this way. We've been this way for the last couple of years, still able to get where we were. But I will, like Jake, name the potential team. I'm gonna name a potential team that's really on an upcome, and they're having a great season so far. Don't know how long it's gonna last. The Kansas City Royals, with Bobby Witt Jr., Pasquantino. You got that veteran leader in Salvador Perez. Brady Singer is a good pitcher over there. You have Cole Reagan, who's really good as well. Look out for the Kansas City Royals, man. They could be really good, man. They have a shot actually of winning this division, the AL Central. They actually have a shot along with the Cleveland Guardians, who's playing some very good baseball right now. But again, what the Royals are really good, looking really good right now. I like the way the Royals are looking.
All right, y'all. There you have it. Jake finally graced his presence on the 7200 podcast. It only took a couple of years or so, but tell the peoples what's next. What you gonna talk about on tonight's Snake Sports Talk.
Well, I got a lot to talk about. We're going to be talking a lot about the Golden State Warriors and how this is basically the end of an era and what to do now. Really going to start talking a little bit more about the NBA playoffs, but also we're going to be gearing up for the Stanley Cup playoffs as well, as there's one more regular season game before as we should be coming base. But it'll be interesting to kind of see how things really do pan out for tonight. But I'm really excited about tonight's show.
All right, y'all, there you have it. Again, Jake will be on in about a half hour or so right here on the Sports Wave Network. Make sure y'all tune in for that. Again, 100 episode. Watch out for that because we will be giving away something special. Have people come on up, hang out with us, tell us what y'all love about the show. Everything else. So next week, again, me and Coach will get deep in depth into the NBA playoffs. We'll do our mock drafts for the NFL. We gotta do that live. So until then, y'all, appreciate y'all, everybody in the chat who graced the presence today. Damian, Sajin, Vic, E. I seen you in there. Mo, Koo, I see y'all. Thank y'all for tuning in. Make sure y'all. No, I understand it. I appreciate you. I know
as long as you're here, E, that's all that matters. As long as you're
here. Tune in next week again. We're gonna do our live mock drafts. We're gonna talk about the NBA playoffs. So yeah, make sure y'all tune on back next week. Might be the same time, same place, same channel, hopefully. But y'all enjoy the rest of y'all evening. Watch the play-in East. I think the Sixers is on now, or should be coming on.
Yeah, right now.
They on now, and then tune in for the 9-10 game. That's gonna be a poop bowl. I ain't even watching that. I'm not even gonna watch that. But knowing me, I will. But till next week, y'all. Love, peace, and hair grease. Don't do nothing dumb, and if you do, just make sure you do it safely. We gonna get on out of here. Peace.
Talk to you.
I'll get it if I want it. Gotta make to myself a promise. I won't quit, keep going till I got it. I won't give up till I'm on top.
Yo, no, I ain't the type to give up. If I do something, man, I do it till I get what I want. I turn a business out of nothing into something I